So Amanda, do you want to unmute and jump on?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good
It's
evening.
going good. We just heard about your epic road trip to Maryland and back. It's sort of weird that the two
Yes,
ladies lined up exactly one after the other in our
we
schedule.
we were actually gonna just switch with each other and see if anybody noticed.
You have a slightly different accent.
A little bit, yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. Well, welcome so much. I mean, there are maybe a few people in the industry that don't know who you are. So why don't you just sort of tell us quickly?
Yeah, I'm assuming there's a lot of them. I'm not sure why you use legend, but I appreciate it. Yeah, so my name is Amanda Berlin. I'm in a very tiny town in Ohio, and I do a lot of defensive security stuff on my day job. I wrote the Defensive Security Handbook, and I am the CEO of Mental Health Hackers.
Yeah, which is one of our charities, which we
Yeah,
would urge you, since we have the CEO of Mental Health Hackers here, we would urge you to donate to BeerCon 1.
so would
Um,
I.
so Amanda, I mean, obviously, a bit of a personal story here about why Mental Health Hackers, but maybe take us through why you decided that people in information security need mental health help.
Yeah, so I I took it on just as a small talk at first, right? So I had been talking a while about like my own anxiety and depression issues, just like with people on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and at conferences. And the first keynote I ever gave was at B-Sides Nashville a few years ago. And I was looking for kind of a big picture TED type ish talk, right?
Mhm.
And it was around the same time somebody had come up to me and been like, "Oh, well, you seem really happy. Like you don't look depressed at all." So I got it in my head, like, I've talked to other people in the industry that have mental health issues. I wonder if this is a thing. So I started looking into it more and realized that in STEM in general, and then InfoSec is included in that, there are an increased amount of mental health issues compared to like the general public. So I gave my first keynote ever, and it was what was it called? What was it? Hackers, Hugs and Drugs, Mental Health and InfoSec.
Right.
And it kind of just covered like I mention everywhere I go and every time I can that right I work in defensive security. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. I took like one psych class in college. Like I obviously am not a professional when it comes to that, but I do have a whole lot of personal experience, right?
Mhm.
And know what I've gone through. So I kind of just went over my personal struggles, some base information from like some really reputable sources. And then I did a whole lot of reading on other people's mental health research.
Right.
And that talk, uh, I've given more than any other talk ever, which I never expected. I
Mhm.
thought it would kind of be a one and done. But after the response, I just realized it was helping more people than I thought it would, with just letting other people know that they're not the only ones out there that are struggling. Because I thought I was for the longest time. I thought, I
Right.
can handle this myself. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need therapy. I don't need medication. I don't need to even think about it. I'm just gonna like shove all of those emotions down inside where they're supposed to be. And it kind of just snowballed from there.
It's so great because I think it's bringing to light a really difficult subject. And I think anyone that is sort of new to it kind of needs to be prepared for the toll that it's going to take. But then those of us that have been there for a while, it's now given us sort of a bit of a rallying cry slash common area to start talking about. And I know that you do a lot of travel, you do a lot of international travel on this subject area. Are you thinking about a book? Are you thinking about workshops? What is sort of the next evolution?
So definitely not a book. I did that once.
Okay.
that's that's a lot of work. And so is this. So I actually started a nonprofit
Hmm.
because last year um I gave my first workshop like ever, right? And it was going to be just a 4 hour, like, come and learn about mental health issues at DerbyCon in 2018.
Right.
And that was, it turned into a full 2 day thing with like our own talks
Hmm.
and everything else, right? Um, and so that's the small picture of what we do as a nonprofit, right? We just kind of have anywhere from little chill villages where you can kind of set up shop in and be away from all the noise and the people and just kind of chill out in, and know that you have people there, that have your back, up to the point where there's like talks and massages and workshops, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
We do have a whole lot of stuff planned for the future as well, depending on, we're really, really trying for some corporate sponsors to get some recurring income in, because right now a lot of our stuff comes from like this stuff, right?
Hmm.
Awesome people, from the community giving to a cause that they believe in.
Right.
And
Right.
we know there's some big companies out there with a lot of money that would take some of that off of the people in the industry. But we want to do things like help others in the industry, like if they can't afford therapy,
Hmm.
or whether it's in person or online, something like that, right? Because that stuff can be really expensive, anywhere from like 40 to 150 bucks a month,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least in the US, because our healthcare sucks.
Yeah.
um, I don't know, other places have it a little bit better, but depends on where you're at.
Hmm.
But we just kind of want to help our own. So, all money that we get goes back into stuff like that, right? Either,
Brilliant.
yeah, sending, we can actually run 4 of these villages now.
Hmm.
I have one, my CFO, Megan Roddy, has one, and then we have these 2 ambassador kits, which we just sent one to Canada somewhere. They've been in Idaho and St. Louis, and I think
And
we're gonna.
you have a rep out here in the UK, do you not?
We do, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So that's good that you're covering off the kind of almost a global program now.
Yeah, we're trying to, because eh, we just want to get it out as many places as we can, and make as well use of any money that we're given as possible. My employer helps out a whole lot because, like, they pay for my travel.
Okay.
I'm really lucky
Yeah.
to be able to work with a company that does that. Now, a
Yeah.
lot of times they don't, and they are cool with me just like shipping off to Germany for a week and working from there. And yeah, I just that's that's what we're trying to do, is just kind of grow and fill needs where there are some.
So do you see the psychological sort of associations with information security? Is it more pronounced? Depending on the role, or are you finding that corporate culture plays a big part of it, or what are you sort of seeing as the main sort of drivers that are most unsettling?
Um, Corporate culture is definitely a big one. I recently did a talk at GERCON that kind of focused on that, because there are I mean, I'm sure we've all been there, right? Where it's the
Hmm.
company that is driving you to, you know, be productive, be productive, be productive at any cost. I've had people that I've worked with that are working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks just to get
Yeah.
stuff done, and their health falters and their mental health falters and their relationships and their finances, like everything takes a hit because
Yep.
that's not healthy, right?
Yep.
Other things like our culture, and I'm sure lots of people realize this, um, draws a certain type of person.
Hmm.
We have, just people that are willing to sit behind a screen
Yeah.
for 8, 12, 36 hours at a time, right?
And review log files or do something
that's
terrible.
me. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
me. Yeah, lots and lots of log files. But we draw that kind of person to our industry, right? And like we have a lot of people on the autism spectrum in our industry because they fit well, right? There's a lot of data and there's a lot of stuff that computers just make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we draw definitely certain types of people that I think just kind of exacerbates it.
Have a predisposition. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you think like the burnout culture is a kind of factor perhaps? So if you take a look at the work that we're doing, we sit in front of a computer, we're on our mobiles. When we switch off, what do? We sit in front of a TV, we work on our mobiles. So there's never a disconnect. Like I talked about this a few weeks ago. Like a doctor will be in the office and then come home and that's that. Do you think that has some impact on a bit of the mental health in the industry?
Definitely. One of the more common talks that we see in our villages is are focused around how not to do that. Because it does lead to burnout, whether we want to admit it or not. We have super high turnover rate, in this industry. We don't think anything of it if you're at a place for a year and then and hop back and forth, right? That's, to each their own, but if you're in a very happy, healthy work environment, you're going to be there for longer than a year.
Yeah.
Because a good environment is going to promote growth and learning, but not burn you out at the same time. And that's one of the things that I really recommend to people too is, I've started taking weekends, right? I'll take weekends, and I've never ever thought I would do this, but leaving my phone at home when I go places.
Wow. Really?
Right?
Really?
Right? Yes. And it is very difficult. It's like withdrawal. You're like, it the shakes and you're itching. Like it's a very mentally taxing thing to now be withdrawn from that technology because you're on it constantly. Yeah. It's definitely an addiction.
Yeah, I definitely, I can't imagine that kind of world. But I so want to try it because clearly, what we're doing is it's almost like our job is destructive. And then our coping strategies to cope with that destructive job are even more destructive than the job itself. And we get into this cycle. Do you find that when you talk to people about this, do you urge them to try and find a hobby that is outside of this industry or redefine themselves as not the job?
Yes, because when you talk to somebody and you ask them, oh, so tell me a little bit about yourself, what's the first thing 90% of people say? Like what they do for a job. And
Sean?
True. It's very true.
Yeah.
And I do it too. Like I am very, very, I can't say that I don't do any of these terrible habits because it's very hard to break yourselves, even though I'm trying to tell people not to do it too. But, weaning yourself off of it a little bit at a time is also very
positive
thing. Yeah, definitely. So you have to find those non-technology driven habits, right? Because you can say, oh, like, what's your other hobby? Well, I game.
Yeah.
Okay. You're still looking at a screen and you're probably still online.
Can you please stop describing me?
It's like she's right there, Sean. It's like she's looking at you right now.
Yeah. No, it's not just you, man.
But actually, Sean also wrestles wolves that live in his house.
Good. That's good. Me too. They're called my children.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in Sean's case, they're also called his children and his dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Uh,
So
Yeah.
so knowing what you know about this industry and everything like that, you have children, obviously you're looking at their career prospects. What are your feelings if one of your children comes to you and says, I want to be an information security analyst?
Like, oh no, you don't.
Don't be ridiculous.
Become a welder.
No,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
garbage man, doctor. I don't care. Just not something that lets you go home at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm safe at least until the youngest one.
Okay.
My 8-year-old is kind of just a mini me.
Well, we're
But
starting them early now in this
Man, I
profession.
know. Oh, I know. But yeah, the other two are older, and I think I'm safe with them.
Okay, super cool. Right, we're going to draw it to a close now, Amanda,
Sure.
because we're going to bring Ray in. But thank you very much, and you are one of the beneficiaries of the event, the entire
Yes,
event.
I thank
Yeah.
you guys so much. Our next event, so I'm doing something short in Orlando for the SE Village conference.
Super
But
cool.
after that, we have several in March. I know we're doing Blue Team Con, and oh gosh, I think we already have like 10 things booked for next year.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's going to definitely help out all of those. So you'll be providing massages to lots and lots of hackers.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's a pleasure to be able to help. Yeah.
Yeah,
really is.
definitely.
All right. So thanks, Amanda. All the best.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Cheers.